Hi, my name is Sandra Parrish, and I think I first became aware of Roderick Haig-Brown when I was about 10 years old and moved to this community. I actually grew up just down the road from the Haig-Brown House. When I was in about grade 6 or 7, I read my first Haig-Brown book. It was On the Highest Hill, and it still stays with me today. Today I'm going to share a little bit from one of my other favorite books, Measure of the Year. Measure of the Year was published in 1950, and it's a series of essays that are intricately woven around the months of the year. So each chapter starts with a little bit of a discussion about that month, what Roderick is observing outside, the plants, the trees, the birds, and then there's some additional essays that go along with them. The essay that I'm going to read you a portion of is from the chapter on the month of December, and it's entitled, Let Them Eat Sawdust. I have been, all my life, what is known as a conservationist. I am not at all sure that this has done myself or anyone else any good. But I am quite sure that no intelligent man, least of all a countryman, has any alternative. It seems clear, beyond possibility of argument, that any given generation of men can have only a lease, not ownership, of the earth. And one essential term of the lease is that the earth be handed on to the next generation with unimpaired potentialities. This is a conservationist concern. It is in the history of civilizations that conservationists are always defeated. Boomers always win, and civilizations always die. I think there has never been in any state a conservationist government because there's never been a people with sufficient humility to take conservation seriously. This is natural enough. No man is intimately concerned with more than his lifetime. Comparatively few men concern themselves seriously with more than a fraction of the time. In the last analysis, all governments reflect the concerns of the people they govern, and most modern democratic governments are more deeply concerned with some brief set term of office than anything else. Conservation means fair and honest dealing with the future, usually at some cost to the immediate present. It is a simple morality with little to offset the glamour and quick material rewards of the North American deity progress. In Measure of the Year, it's set in the town of Elmore, which is actually Campbell River. And in this essay, he goes on to think about and talk about some of the boom and bust he sees happening in the community around him and the lack of sustainability and forward thinking. And then about midway through the essay, there is one of those eureka, very succinct, common sense approaches, which is one of the reasons I admire Roderick Haig-Brown so much. Just before this, he's talking about how Elkhorn has had some environmental conflicts. And he goes on to say, such conflicts as these go on throughout the continent, and none of them is necessary. Hydroelectric developments, pulp mills, and other such manifestations of progress are not dreamed up overnight. There is always ample time for mature and careful consideration of every issue involved. But early planning is always left to the single-tracked minds of the developers, often buried in deepest secrecy for purely commercial reasons. And the conservationist is left with a last-ditch battle. In this way, the burden of proof is always forced upon him. He is standing in the way of progress, reactionary, narrow, and without real vision. He finishes the the chapter or the essay in not a very uplifting manner. But I think, you know, when we consider this was written in the 1950s, it's really applicable to where we are today, and a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Perhaps I take too much pleasure in prophesizing doom. Perhaps I am too much countryman and woodsman to understand the dream of progress through cities and machines, to feel the romance of the bulldozer and the earth mover, the concrete mixer, the 4-lane highway. But I think we are on our way through the whole tragic story, that we shall live on it. Our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will have to solve the slow, difficult problem of restoration as best they can. Perhaps atomic power will help them. It seems to be our only legacy. So I really recommend Measure of the Year and many of other Roderick's writings. It's astounding how, you know, forward-thinking he was for this time, and how applicable much of what he said is to today.